Good afternoon, children. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will continue with History Chapter 2, New Kings and Kingdoms, Session 2. Previous session we have discussed about new kings and kingdoms, about the emergence of dynasties, what were their features, through slides and key points. Today we will once again recapitulate that concept through textual explanation. Along with that, rest of the part we will continue with key points as well as textual reference. Let's go to the next slide. In introduction part, we have discussed about 7th century onwards the new dynasties have emerged. What was special about these dynasties? What we will learn through this session? We will learn, end of this session, about the emergence of new dynasties, their administration, how they administrated their land or their territory, then what are the process they adopted to maintain proper administration. And in this part we will discuss about prashastis and land grants, then warfare for wealth, and regarding this part we will discuss about tripartite battle, Mahmud Ghazni of Afghanistan, Muhammad Ghori, and special case study the Cholas kingdoms, their temples, administration, agriculture, irrigation, etc. Now first, on the basis of previous session, I am going to discuss from your text. Beginning of the chapter, it has given the many new dynasties emerge after 7th century. Map 1 shows the major ruling dynasties in different parts of the subcontinent between the 7th and 12th centuries. You can see the map. This map is given in your book. Here you can see Chahmanas. Later on they are known as Chauhans. Then Gurjar Pratihara, Chandelas, Paramas, then Palas and Rashtrakuta, and downward it has given Chola. You can see it, Cholas, Pandyas and Cheras. You can see the fluctuating frontiers also. These fluctuating frontiers are actually those areas which were not under the control of a specific ruler for a long time. To conquer this land, most of the cases, the neighboring rulers are always having fight between themselves. Sometimes one ruler won the battle and they control the area, and next time another ruler conquered that area and they ruled over that portion. That's why the territory outline of this, but all these dynasties are having some shaded area which are referred as fluctuating frontier. Now I am coming to the this map is needed for your from this chapter. This map is very important. So this map you need to practice along with this ruler. In the blue box it has referred, you can see the name Gurjar Pratihara, Rashtrakuta, Palas and Cholas and Chahmanas or Chauhans. These particular you need to practice it on the map. Gurjar Pratihara, Rashtrakutas, Palas, Cholas and Chahmanas. Now I am going to the next part. The emergence of new dynasties. Here we have discussed about last session Samantas. The first question will be over there. Who were Samantas? Your answer will be from here. I need to make it close little bit that you can see. By the 7th century, there are big landlords or warrior chiefs in different regions of the subcontinent. Existing kings often acknowledge them as their subordinates or samantas. Up to this. This is question number 1. Who were samantas? Next line, they were expected to bring gifts for their kings or overlords, be present at their courts and provide them with military support. Now, what was the role of these samantas? What they were doing? So, your answer will be, they were expected to bring gifts for their kings or overlords, be present at their courts and provide them with military support. Up to this. Next question will be, who were Mahasamantas? As samantas gained power and wealth, they declared themselves to be Mahasamanta. So another short question, who were Mahasamanta? The samantas who gained power and wealth, they declared themselves Mahasamanta. Sometimes this Mahasamanta also referred as Mahamandaleshwara. Mandal means area or region. Literally meaning of this word is the great lord of a circle or region, and so on. Sometimes they asserted their independence from the overlord. One such instance was that of Rashtrakutas in Deccan. I referred about Danti Durga. So from this para you will be having another question. That question will be, who was the founder of Rashtrakuta dynasty? Who was the founder of Rashtrakuta dynasty? Danti Durga, a Rashtrakuta chief. That means Danti Durga was the founder of Rashtrakuta dynasty. How did he got his power? That answer will be from here. The Rashtrakutas in the Deccan, initially they were subordinate to the Chalukyas of Karnataka. Mid-8th century, Danti Durga, a Rashtrakuta chief, overthrew his Chalukya overlord and performed a ritual called Hiranyagarbha. It was performed with the help of Brahmanas. It was thought to lead to the rebirth of the sacrificer as a Kshatriya, even he was not one by birth. You know that I discussed about this. The Rashtrakuta chief Danti Durga was not a Kshatriya community. That's why when he conquered the land to regenerate or taking the rebirth as a Kshatriya, he upgraded himself through this ritual activity called Hiranyagarbha. So, the question I referred, how did Danti Durga or Rashtrakuta came into power? So, answer will be from the Rashtrakutas from there up to birth. Here, another short question, one mark question you will be getting, that what is Hiranyagarbha? Underline this portion, Hiranyagarbha, and underline the literally meaning, the golden womb. Actually, it is a ritual through which the non-Kshatriya community can upgrade themselves into Kshatriya community by performing this ritual. Next part, in other cases, men from enterprising families used their military skill to carve out kingdoms. Example I already discussed, that is Kadamba Mayura Sharman and Gurjar Pratihara Harichandra. They were Brahmanas and gave up their professions and took to arms, successfully establishing kingdom in Karnataka and establishing kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan. You have seen that map here itself. On the other cases, men from enterprising family use their military skills to carve out kingdoms. For instance, the Kadamba Mayura Sharman and the Gurjar Pratihara Harichandra were Brahmanas who gave up traditional professions and took to successfully establishing kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. You can see the map, that is Rashtrakuta Empire here, and another map it has given the Kadamba, that Mayurashram is a Kadamba dynasty. So now I am coming to the next slide. It is a new session. of the next part of your textbook. We will go first with the key points, then followed by textual explanation. Administration in the kingdoms. How these kingdoms or these kings are being administrated their areas. Many kings adopted high-sounding titles. Maharaja Adhiraj, Tribhuvana Chakrabartin. Maharaja Adhiraj, that means Lord of the land, the great king, overlord of the kings, meaning, and Tribhuvana Chakrabartin, that means Lord of the three worlds. In spite of this, they shared their power with their samantas, peasants, traders, brahmanas. Why? Because if the area is big, the territory they conquer, that is a big area, then it will be very problematic for a ruler to control every places by himself alone. He will be needed some people or subordinates who can look after on behalf of him that particular area. That's why the samantas, mahasamantas, all these posts or all these honorary privileges or the positions as created, so that they have shared kings have shared his power with this samantas as well as peasant traders and brahmanas, and that also being done for effective administration. These particular people who are having that shared power because of their own interest, they will be taking care about the rules, regulation and the maintenance of the kingdom for their own benefit. Now next, administration in the kingdoms. To run the administration, all the kingdoms are needed resources, and these resources were obtained from the producers. Who are these producers? These producers in form of traders, peasants, artisans, all these people, cattle keepers, all, they were compelled to surrender a part of what they produced as tax. Sometimes it is also known as rent. These resources once again used to finance the king's establishment, construction of temples and forts. These are also used for fight wars. When the war is going on, that time the king will be needed lot of resource or the man in form of money, in form of human resource as army or the soldiers, so that these resources are being used for this purpose, the fighting wars. Now, how did these resources are being obtained from the common people? Function of the revenue collection was generally done by the functionaries of influential families. Why influential families? Because it is not possible that the particular collection duty it can be provided among the common people. No, the king has to be selected about this thing, and he has chosen some influential family member as their revenue department, as a part of their revenue department. And most interesting, this part is hereditary. After a father's death, son will be getting that opportunity to collect the money. The king was telling that you can collect the money from this area, don't keep it with you, you give it to me, I will give you the proper honorarium as well as privileges. And those people are belonging from an influential family. So they are doing on behalf of the kings, and the positions were often hereditary. The same was true for the army also, because they are not supposed to go for a new selection. The hierarchy system was there. You can understand that today, nowadays, this kind of system is not there. So there is a huge difference between nowadays that revenue system and that middle age revenue system we are discussing about right now. So there is a difference. Now, textual explanation for this portion. Question will be, what are the measures taken by the kings to establish their power. That will be the next question. Answer will be, the new kings adopted high-sounding titles like Maharaja, Adhiraj, Tribhuvana Chakravartin, and then in spite of such claims, they often shared power with their samantas as well as with association of peasants, traders and brahmanas. Resources were obtained from producers, that is peasants, cattle keepers, artisans, who were often persuaded or compelled to surrender part of what they produced. Sometimes these were claimed as rent. Underline this portion. Short question: what is rent? What was referred as rent? Due to a lord who asserted that he owned the land, revenue was also collected from traders. Here, 2 questions you will be getting. And next session I am going to discuss about this particular topic in detail. Today, till up to this, and goodbye.